The episode continues the fallout from the devastating events of Episode 4 and pushes Beth, Rip, Carter, and Beulah into some of the most emotionally charged situations of the season so far. Episode 5 picks up shortly after the destruction of the Dutton herd. Beth and Rip are still dealing with the enormous financial and emotional damage caused by the outbreak that forced them to euthanize their cattle. What was supposed to be a fresh start in Texas has turned into another battle for survival. Beth is at her breaking point. Throughout the episode, Beth struggles to maintain control. Ever since arriving in Texas, she has been trying to build a future with Rip while honoring the legacy of her father, John Dutton. However, the loss of the herd threatens everything they have worked for. Beth's frustration is visible in nearly every scene. She blames herself for not seeing certain threats sooner and worries that the ranch may never recover financially. At the same time, she refuses to let anyone see weakness. One of the strongest aspects of Episode 5 is how it shows Beth's vulnerability beneath her tough exterior. Instead of reacting with anger alone, she begins thinking strategically about how to save the ranch. That leads to the episode's biggest storyline, Beth's high-stakes offer to Beulah. The official synopsis reveals that Beth offers Beulah a high-stakes deal designed to secure both of their futures. For much of the season, Beth and Beulah have been rivals. Their relationship has been defined by distrust, competition, and constant power struggles. Yet Episode 5 suggests that both women realize continuing their feud could destroy them. Beth approaches Beulah with a proposal that could reshape the balance of power in Texas ranching. The exact details unfold gradually, but the key point is that Beth recognizes neither side can survive if they continue bleeding resources. The cattle disaster has changed the rules. Rather than focusing solely on revenge, Beth is finally willing to consider cooperation if it means protecting the future of the ranch. Of course, Beulah remains Beulah. She doesn't immediately trust Beth's intentions. Several scenes are filled with tension as both women attempt to determine whether the other is sincere or setting a trap. The negotiations become some of the most compelling moments in the episode because neither character is accustomed to compromise. Rip carries the weight of failure. While Beth focuses on business decisions, Rip is fighting a different battle. The loss of the herd affects him deeply. Ranching isn't just a job for Rip, it's part of who he is. Episode 4 left him devastated, and Episode 5 explores the emotional consequences. Rip spends much of the episode questioning whether he failed the ranch. Even though the outbreak wasn't entirely his fault, he feels responsible for every animal lost. That guilt influences many of his decisions throughout the hour. Several conversations between Rip and Beth reveal just how exhausted they both are. Yet those same scenes also show why they remain one of the strongest couples in the Yellowstone universe. Instead of turning against each other, they continue supporting one another despite overwhelming pressure. Their relationship becomes one of the few stable elements in a rapidly changing situation. Carter's secret causes more trouble. Another major storyline centers on Carter. Episode 4 revealed that Carter had secretly been working at another ranch behind Beth and Rip's backs. That revelation creates serious trust issues going into Episode 5. Beth feels betrayed. Rip tries to understand Carter's motivations. Meanwhile, Carter struggles to explain himself. From his perspective, he was trying to find purpose and independence. However, his actions create the impression that he no longer believes in the future of the Dutton ranch. The conflict leads to several emotional confrontations. Carter desperately wants to prove he belongs in the family, but every mistake makes that goal more difficult. One of the episode's recurring themes is whether family is defined by blood or loyalty. Carter continues searching for his place within the Dutton household, and Episode 5 suggests his journey is far from over. Trust becomes the central theme. Almost every major storyline revolves around trust. Can Beth trust Beulah? Can Rip trust himself again? Can Beth and Rip trust Carter? Can Carter trust that he truly belongs? The writers cleverly connect these questions across multiple plots. Rather than focusing on action alone, Episode 5 spends considerable time developing character relationships. The result is a slower but emotionally richer episode. Every conversation feels important because future alliances and betrayals depend on them. Beulah remains unpredictable. Although Beth extends an olive branch, Beulah never becomes completely trustworthy. Her motivations remain difficult to read. At times she appears genuinely interested in finding a solution that benefits both sides. At other moments, she seems to be calculating how to gain an advantage. This uncertainty creates suspense throughout the episode. Viewers are constantly left wondering whether Beulah is preparing to help Beth or destroy her. The episode intentionally avoids giving a clear answer. Instead, it leaves enough ambiguity to keep audiences guessing heading into episode 6. The legacy of John Dutton still looms large. Even though John Dutton is gone, his presence continues to shape the story. Beth frequently reflects on lessons she learned from her father. Many of her decisions are influenced by what she believes John would have done. The series consistently reminds viewers that the Dutton name carries enormous weight. Every challenge Beth and Rip face is connected to the responsibility of preserving that legacy. Episode 5 reinforces the idea that surviving isn't enough. The Duttons want to build something that lasts. That goal becomes increasingly difficult as new threats emerge. The episode's biggest emotional moment, without revealing every scene beat by beat, the strongest emotional sequence involves Beth and Rip confronting the reality of their situation. For much of the season, they have convinced themselves that determination alone can solve their problems. Episode 5 forces them to acknowledge that some losses cannot be undone. The scene works because neither character delivers dramatic speeches. Instead, the pain is expressed through small moments and honest conversations. It is a reminder that the show is often at its best when focusing on relationships rather than conflict. What the ending means. The ending doesn't provide complete answers. Instead, it positions the season for an intense second half. Beth's proposal creates opportunities for cooperation, but it also introduces new risks. Rip begins moving forward emotionally, yet his wounds remain fresh. Carter's future within the family is still uncertain. Most importantly, Beulah's response suggests that the battle for control of the region is far from over. The title Peaceful Find Peace is somewhat ironic. While several characters attempt to find peace, true peace remains elusive. Every apparent victory comes with new complications. Every agreement contains hidden dangers. The final scenes leave viewers wondering whether the Duttons are finally stabilizing their future or walking into an even bigger disaster. Final thoughts. Episode 5 is less action-heavy than previous installments, but it is arguably one of the season's most important chapters. It focuses on character development, emotional consequences, and shifting alliances rather than physical confrontations. The biggest takeaways are: Beth makes a risky deal with Beulah. Rip continues struggling with the loss of the herd. Carter's secret actions create new family tensions. Trust becomes the defining theme of the episode. The ending sets up major conflicts for Episode 6. If the first half of the season was about survival, Episode 5 suggests the second half will be about deciding who can truly be trusted when everything is on the line.